The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, how are you all doing today? Welcome along to the webinar. It's great to see so many of you as usual. How is everyone today? And before we get started, actually, I just should probably check that the sound and the screen is all good. So can you all see the Convertri funnel with the Getting Started webinar? And can you all hear me okay? Okay, excellent. So, hello everyone, my name is Dan. I am a member of the Convertri team, and here, as you can see, this is me here. Some of you might have come across me before if you have had any questions asked on the support desk or in our Facebook group. But if not, that is where I do usually hang around. But I also run these bi-weekly webinars where we try and improve your guys' skills with Convertri. So what we're going to be doing today is building a simple lead funnel, similar to the one that you'll see on screen now. And once we have done that, I'll then be showing you some of my favorite editor tips and tricks. So that's basically going to be some little things in the Convertri editor that are going to make your life using Convertri a lot easier. So if I could just ask you guys before we start, if you could let me know in the chat, between 1 and 10, how familiar do you feel you are with Convertri at the moment? So if 1 is that you've barely looked at it and 10's that you're an expert, how well versed in Convertri do you feel you are at the moment? Got a couple of 5s, a 4 in there, a couple of 3s and a 2. Yeah, so that's about the level we'd expect here for these webinars, and that is a good level to be at as you're going to learn some new things as well in this training. So how we'll run it then is we will start off building out this funnel here, and as I said, it's going to be a lead funnel. So the idea is that once it's done, you'll have a live funnel, or we'll have a live funnel that you can recreate, which will allow someone to sign up, be added to your autoresponder, and then once they've clicked through to the thank you page, they'll be sent a lead magnet which they can download directly from your page. And like I said, once we've done that, we'll do I'll run through my editor tips and tricks, but what I'll do first is I'll let you guys ask some questions on the demo before we go on to the editor stuff, just if there's anything you want me to run over again regarding the demo. And then if not, if you can't think of anything, then that's fine. We'll have another Q&A session at the end where I'd like you to save your more general questions about Convertri for that, if that's okay, just so we can keep it nice and focused on the demo. So let's get started then, and let's come into Convertri. And as you can see here, I have got my funnel, and I am now going to be creating a new page to get started. So you're going to hit the blue new page button, and then as you'll see here, these are all our templates. We have got absolutely loads of templates, but we're actually going to create a new page from scratch using this button here. And we're going to call it opt-in. And the reason why we're creating a new page is basically because, well, obviously we want to show you the whole process from start to finish, but also it is actually just really enjoyable to design your own pages from scratch. So you may as well, while you're learning the ropes, get into it, start from scratch, get used to all the features as opposed to using the template straight away. That's what I'd recommend anyway. Yeah, Nora, this is the chat that you've typed into there. No worries. If you've got any questions, just drop them in there and I'll be able to see those. Okay, so let's go into the editor then. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is add our background image. Now, to get an image on the page, you can see here, this is our elements tray on the left. This is where we're going to be adding all of our elements to the page. This time we're going to select image, and you'll then have two options. So you can see it's brought up my home folder. These are all the images that I've added to Convertri in the past. And you've also got this option to search Pixabay. And Pixabay is a stock photo sharing site that we are directly integrated with. And what this means is that you can use our integration to search Pixabay directly within Convertri and then use photos straight from this search. And you can put them on your pages completely free of charge. I'll show you how this works now. If someone could just drop like an object or something like that in the chat, and I'll have a search for it and show you how it works. Okay, so someone's typed in city, so we'll search that on Pixabay. And as you can see, it's brought up loads of lovely pictures of cities, and you can then add any of these to your page directly. Now, the reason why we aren't going to use this today is because the one caveat with this integration is that the maximum resolution that an image can be is 1920 pixels by 1280. Now, this is obviously still quite a large number, but if you're using a higher resolution photo, then you may as well just upload it directly from your own computer, because Convertri can handle really high resolution photos without it actually affecting the page load time. So that is what we're going to do today. So this is a Pixabay integration if you do want to use it at all, but I'll show you now how to upload one. So you're going to come to the home folder, and then you would click on this blue upload button here. Now I've got the image that I want to use already uploaded, so I'm just going to select it from the list. And as you can see, the resolution is drastically higher than what you would find with a Pixabay image. So that is going to mean the image is a lot higher quality, which of course is what you want. So we'll add that to our page, hit select. And once it's added, we can make it full width by using this double-headed arrow. So we'll click that, and that is going to stretch it to the entire width of the page. And from here, we can resize it using our drag handles from the top and the bottom to make it stretch to the whole length of the page. So now we've got the image on screen. The next thing that we want to do with our page is give it a little bit of a header and footer style. So you'll notice in our demo page, we've got this header panel and the footer panel containing the privacy policy. So we're going to create that effect now on this page. And to do that, we're going to use panels. So on the elements tray, you're going to select this gray square, which is our panel element. And once again, you're going to put it to full width, just like with our image. And that stretches it to the whole width of the screen. And then again, we can resize it using our drag handles. So we're going to make it about this big. And then we're going to go into element properties on the right hand side, this blue button here. And we're going to go to background. And with our background, this is where we can select the color. So if we click on the color picker, we can see here we've got our color picker has opened. And what is the greatest thing about this is that it actually changes live on the page while you're choosing all of your colors. So let's say you wanted to compare a lighter shade of red to a darker one. You can do this on screen without having to, select it, accept it, go back into the menu, change it again, remember what it looks like. You can just have a play around with it and see which you like best, which is obviously really great if you're designing pages. Now you'll also notice the RGB value down here on the right hand side. And this is also a feature that I really like, because if you've got a color that you've used on a previous page, you can go and get the exact RGB value for that color and then just copy and paste it into this element here, and it will give you that exact color. So that's really useful as well. For now, we're gonna use a similar color to the one in our demo, which is sort of a beigey color, like so. And then once we've done that, we are going to actually clone this element directly. So instead of adding another one from our elements tray, we can use the clone toolbar when we've got the element selected. That'll make an exact copy of that element. And now we can drag it down to the bottom and use it as our footer, which is nice and useful because, again, now we have the exact same color. We don't have to try and replicate that in the background color picker. So we've got our panels on now, and the next panel that we need to add is the one that you will have seen on the demo page in this area, and that is going to contain all of our content. We've added that panel now, and we can resize it to roughly the size we think it needs to be. We can obviously change this if we need to at a later time. For now though, we will just put it to about there. And then we're going to add our text onto the panel. So again, the elements tray, drag our text element over, and then we're going to type our copy on. So our title, 7 top tips for slimming without starving. And then we're going to add another text element for our main body. And you can actually copy and paste this. So if you had a chunk of text that you were using elsewhere, you can copy and paste it into Convertri. So you're going to highlight it, we'll hit Control C. Now Convertri doesn't have a right click option, so you will need to use the keypad shortcuts. And there you go, Control V. That is going to copy it onto the page. So we've got our panel here. We just need to add our prompt for people to enter their details. And finally, our spam text. Fantastic. Okay, so this is now ready for us to start making it look a bit better and making sure it is configured correctly. So the first thing that we're going to do is change our default styles for our text. So you'll notice at the moment it is all added with this default style of Roboto size 16. The color is black and none of the bold, italics or underline options are selected. Now you can actually set your default text styles for your pages. Now you can do that using our page menu. So you click the little eye logo and then into default text styles. Now here you've got 3 options. You've got paragraph, headline 1, headline 2, and the 4th one actually is hyperlink. Now the paragraph text is what the default text element is set to. So when you add a text element to the page, it's automatically selected as a paragraph type. So you'll see when I change these, all of these text elements are going to change according to this that I set up now. So if you just keep an eye out in the background as well while I'm doing this, you'll notice that it changes automatically. So we're going to choose the font family to be something a little bit different. Let's go with Lato. And we'll up the line spacing slightly. We'll keep everything else the same. And you can see there below where my mouse is now that this has updated automatically for us. So we'll click Done. And if we were to now add another text element, you'll see that this would actually be what it looks like as well. And this obviously is really useful for keeping a consistent house style across your pages. Now we want something a little bit different for our heading though. So we're going to go back to our default text styles. And this time we're going to select heading 1. And from there we'll choose a different font, one that's going to stand out slightly. So we'll go Noto Sans. We'll make it bold and we'll bring the font size down a little bit just because our form isn't actually that big. So we'll go about 26. Now you'll notice when I click Done, unlike the paragraph text, none of this has changed. And the reason that is because none of these are actually set to be a heading. So if you highlight this and then hit More, you can see you have the option to change what it is set to. So if we change it to heading 1, now it actually looks like the default style that we set up. And that's because we've configured it to be a heading. So you can set different styles for different types of text. And it is worth noting that you can still change them individually. So even though this one is set to paragraph, you can still make edits to it on the page as well. But this just won't affect the default style that you've set up. But obviously not each bit of text is going to be the same, even if it's like the same setting. So not all paragraph text will be the same size. But once you've got your base, you can set that up in the default styles and then change it accordingly on your pages. And I've got a question that's come in from Sarah, and she's asking, do pages in Convertri always have Convertri in the URL, or do you have to have them with our own domain? Now, the pages that you'll see which have .convertri, they're set up with Convertri subdomains. But if you set up a custom domain, then you won't have to have that in your URL at all. So it just depends how you set it up. Now, I'll show you some more information on that at the end of the webinar. But for now, we'll get back to the demo. And the next thing that we want to do is add our form elements. So let's just make space for them on our form. And now we'll come over to our element tray again. And we're going to want the first name element, the email element, and lastly, we need the submit button. So these are where basically your prospects can enter their information, and the submit button is what allows them to progress to the next stage and what passes the information to your autoresponder. Now you'll notice that despite us setting up our default text styles, these form elements are unchanged. They don't actually match these at the moment, and that's because they basically aren't affected by the default text styles. But you can still edit them so that they match your house style. You just have to do it individually. So you'll select the one you want. So we'll start with first name, go to element properties, and then input properties. And you can see here, you can actually change the placeholder text as well. So let's say you wanted to have address, you can change that, but we'll keep it as first name for this demonstration. Then we're going to change the font to match our house style. So we'll change it to Lato. This is where you can make all these adjustments. So you've got the placeholder color, the text color, the weight, the size, etc. And then we'll do the same for email. Put that to Lato as well, just so it matches the house style. And again, we'll change the submit button, but we'll actually change it to match the heading. So we'll go Noto Sans. We'll make that bold and we'll increase the font size a little bit. And we're going to change the label of it as well to download now. And that is just because our users, our prospects, they are going to be downloading a lead magnet. Now, this button here won't actually give them the download. What this does is submits the form and sends them to the thank you page. But we're just calling it a download because that is essentially what they're going to be getting out of it. That is the call to action. They are downloading a magnet, lead magnet. So we've got everything set up on our form that we need. The last thing we need to do with this is just make it look a little bit neater. So you can see it's sort of all over the place at the minute. And if I move this out of the way even further, you'll be able to see the full effects of our great alignment features. And the reason I say these are great is because they're just so time saving. They really are. So instead of having to manually line all of these up to make it look neater, what we can do is select our backing panel and then come over to this button here, hit the drop down, and these are all the alignment tools that we are offering. And what we're going to do is ask it to center align all of the elements within the panel. So if we hit this one, you'll see everything now has snapped directly to the middle of this panel. So it is nice and neat. Doesn't look all scruffy and out of place. And the last thing we want to do is you can see the gap between these form elements is slightly different. So between first name and email, it's big, and then email and download now, it's a bit smaller. So we're going to shift click to select all of those elements. Again, we're going to go to our alignment tools, and this time we're going to hit distribute vertically to make sure there's even space between the three elements. So that is looking pretty smart now, if you ask me. And once we've done our alignment, the last thing that we need to do with our panel here is just add the borders and make it a little bit transparent, like you can see here. You've got these nice curved borders, and we're going to give it this opaque effect. So again, we'll hit element properties with our panel selected, and then we're going to go to background again. And this time we're not going to use the color picker, we're going to use this transparency selector. So on the right hand side, this bar here, this is how see-through your element is. So if you bring it all the way down, it's completely see-through. And you can see again with the colors, it's changing live as you're doing this. So you can see the effect it's having on the page. We're going to leave it at about 70% as that gives it a nice effect, but you can still read the text there. So we'll hit select, and then we'll go back into the main properties and go down to borders. And this time we're going to change the border radius. Now, if you want to have each corner to be slightly different, you can. So let's say, for example, you wanted the top left to be, I'm just showing you an extreme border so you can see the effects. So let's say you wanted top left and bottom right to be the same to create sort of this effect. You can do that. Or you can toggle this option, which basically means that each corner has the same radius. So that makes it easier to just set one for all, and you can either type it in like so or use the arrows here. So we'll just keep it at 25 for now. Now, the last thing that we have to do on our desktop page is just add our privacy policy text so that anyone who's on our page can actually access our privacy policy. So we'll add a text element, and we'll make sure that it is at the bottom, and then we'll type in privacy policy, and you can see it's set to our default styles. We're going to align it to page center, and we're going to middle align the text itself, so that puts it bang in the middle of the page. And then to get the effect of it linking to our privacy policy, we're going to use the hyperlink tool. So we'll click hyperlink, and as you can see, we've got the option to type in our own link. So I'm just going to type in Convertri's privacy policy link. Obviously, you can add your own. This is just for the sake of the demonstration. And then one thing I would recommend doing is we have this option here to open in a new tab. And what that means is that if someone does click this hyperlink, they won't actually, the sales page that it's on won't close. It will just open the new privacy policy in a new tab. And what that means is they're able to then go back to the sales page. So you haven't completely lost their attention. If you didn't have this on, then obviously the tab has changed into the privacy policy. So they may just forget about the sales page altogether. Whereas with this option, they're always going to have the sales page open. So they're more likely to go back and keep browsing it, which is obviously what you want. The interest needs to be on your sales page, not on your privacy policy. So I'd always recommend opening it in a new tab. So we'll hit save. You can see now it's got the underline underneath it. And that means that if someone clicks on this on your live page, it will take them there in a new tab. Okay, so this is the desktop page done, but we aren't finished with our opt-in page just yet, as we need to have a look and make sure our mobile page is good. So you can see design for desktop is what we're on at the moment, but we're going to select mobile. And as you can see, Convertri's mobile algorithm has automatically created this for us. We haven't had to do anything. We haven't had to mess around and redesign it for a smaller screen. It's automatically done that for us. And what's more, we can actually make edits to it if we want. So let's say we wanted to have the title swapped around with our text. We can move those around. And you'll notice if we go back to our desktop page, it hasn't actually changed this at all, which is obviously great because it means you can have slight differences on your mobile page. If you feel that there's a way to make your mobile page look better than what the Convertri algorithm's given you, you can make edits to that and it won't affect your desktop page. And another fantastic feature about this is that if you do decide to make any edits on your mobile page like we've done here, you can simply hit remobilize if you want it to go back to Convertri's automatically created version. So you can see there it says rerun the automatic mobile conversion. We'll hit that, remobilize all, and it goes straight back to the automatically generated version. Now we're going to find out a little bit more about how Convertri does this later on and how you can make your pages so that they mobilize well. As you can see, this page has mobilized pretty much perfectly. We don't need to change anything here. Nothing's out of place and everything is in the order that we would expect it to be. But sometimes if you're building pages, that isn't always the case. So later on in the show, I'm going to show you how to make sure that your pages are mobilizing well, as it is really important. So that's now done. Our opt-in page is pretty much finished. So we're going to come out of here for now. And we're going to now create our thank you page. So to do this, we're not actually going to use the new page button. We're actually going to make a clone of our opt-in page. So I'll just show you that again, in case any of you missed it. The 3-dot menu here, we're going to click this, then click more, and then we're going to use the clone option. And once we've named it, we'll call it thank you. You're going to see that it's made an exact copy of the page we've just created. Now, the reason why we're doing this is basically like using a template that you've created yourself. So we're using the opt-in page as our template, and we're doing this because it keeps the house style consistent throughout our funnel. So we're not having to completely redesign it from scratch. We can make small edits to it to make it look different, but we're still getting that same effect to make sure that your users know that they're in the same sales funnel. You don't really want them to sort of click through to your thank you page and it looks completely different because they might think they've gone wrong. So if you keep that consistency, they're going to know that they're on the right track. So we'll open this up now and get going with the thank you page. Okay, so we are going to need to make a few slight adjustments. So we don't need our form elements anymore because no one is submitting information on this page. So we can get rid of those. And obviously that means we don't need this prompt or the spam text. And because they've already opted in, we don't really need this description text either. We can change that to a little bit of a prompt so that they know what the button does. So we can say, click below to download your free guide on 7 top tips without starving. And once we've done that, we obviously don't want this huge gap, so we can move our button up, and you can see the pink lines there tell me that it's in the middle of the panel. We'll just use the arrows to shift that down a little bit. And then we can use the drag handles to resize our backing panel, and we can also move it more to the center of the page now that it's a little bit smaller. Okay, so we've got that now. We've got it looking more like a thank you page. We're just going to change the button color just purely for design reasons. This is a complete preference, but we want it to be slightly different so that they know that this is the actual download button. And the next thing that we need to do is probably the most important thing you need to do on your thank you page, and that is to attach your lead magnet to your button. Now, with our button on the opt-in page, we had it set to the sign-up mode. As you can see here, this is obviously a duplicate of that button, but we need to change it to a download. And what that will do is it will allow you to upload a file so that when someone clicks on the button, they actually download the file. So select file, and it brings up a similar menu to your image one. And as you can see, you've got the option to select one you've already uploaded, upload a new one. And you can also see this little note here, which is important because it tells you that individual files are limited to 40 megabytes. What that means is the maximum file size you can upload to Convertri at one time is 40 megabytes. So if you have a larger file, you won't be able to use the download feature. What I'd suggest doing is having it hosted somewhere else, so somewhere like Amazon S3, and then you can get the link to that and you can set the button mode to link and put it in the link option so that when someone clicks on it, they'll be taken to that link where they can then download or access your file. So don't worry if it is larger, you'll just have to change the button mode and host it somewhere else. But with our hosting, you can have anything up to 40 megabytes. So again, with images, you'd use the upload button to add any from your own files. Now I've already got it here, so I can select it and add it to my button. You'll see now that my download file is here. And we've got this option to force download on the click. Now it's similar to a new tab. So if you have it off, then it will open it in a new tab. If you have it on, then basically it's going to download the file straight away. Now I would leave it off just because some people might not want an automatic download, but I mean, it does say download now. So if you were to have it on, then it is completely up to you. I wouldn't say that's too big of a problem. Okay, so we're pretty much done with our thank you page now. Not much needs doing with it because we already had the cloned version. So we've obviously saved ourselves a lot of time there by using that feature, which means we can go ahead and publish it. So we can publish it to the path thank you, which basically adds that on to the end of our URL. And we'll hit publish. And now we need to go back to our opt-in page and we need to configure our form so that when someone does sign up, they're added to our autoresponder and they're sent to the thank you page. So we'll come out of the thank you page in the editor. And before we go back into our opt-in page, what we actually want to do is use the arrow feature to link these two pages together. Now, this doesn't really do anything unless you make sure it does, but what I'll show you in a second is it is going to save you time, and also it's going to save you remembering what your URL was for your thank you page. So if you drag the arrow like I did so that it's onto the other page, these two are now linked. Now we'll go into our opt-in page and I'll show you what that has done. So I'm going to set up my form, and we're going to do that by using the forms option here. And then from the autoresponder list, we're going to select which autoresponder we are using. Now I'm using MailChimp. Obviously, if you're using any of the others, that's completely up to you. And then you search for your target, which is your list that you've set up in your autoresponder. And once you select that, you'll see here that we've got these fields. Now, these are the ones that are added on your page, and this is the field type, which needs to match the field type set on the element as well. So I'll show you that in a bit more detail after this is all been set up, but we'll set it as first name. The email type is locked to email. So we'll hit next. And here you can see this is what I was on about with the arrows. So it's automatically preloaded our thank you page URL. You can see it's from the suggestions box. And obviously that just saves you time if you come in to set your form up and then think, oh God, what was my thank you page URL? You don't have to go back and look. It's already here for you. And also it basically brings up any other pages you have linked there. So say we had 3 or 4 pages that we'd put arrows to, it would bring all of them up and we could select which one was in the list. So it is a useful tool that I'd recommend using. And also, if you have a lot of pages in your funnel, it can be quite a good visual aid for you as well. So we'll click done, and that is now set up. So our form is set up, and we'll just show you what I meant about the field types. So we'll select our form element, form field settings. You can see here's the assigned field type and its first name. And you can see in bold, these are the two that are set up in our form. So we need to have these at least as our field types. The information won't be passed through if you don't have a matching field type to ones you had in your form. So make sure these are set up correctly, otherwise you'll find yourself having problems obtaining your leads data. Once you've made sure that is all sorted though, you are good to go. This is pretty much the completed version now. So we can publish our opt-in page. Everything's set up so that it'll be working. We've got our download button, and I'll show you the mode. Set to sign up. So we'll publish it. We'll just give the path opt-in. Hit publish. And as you can see now, we've got this green tick telling us it's published. We can now view our page. You'll see how quickly it just loaded. Even with this huge resolution image, it's loaded so fast. And now you can sign up and download the lead magnet if you have done so. So if anyone wants to just test it out to see and double check it works, feel free to do so. But we now have a live lead funnel so that you can obtain leads from, and your leads can download your own lead magnet. So I hope that was useful for all of you guys. I'll give you a few minutes now to just sort of think of any questions you might have relating to that demo. Like I said, if you've got any more general questions about Convertri, we'll address those at the end. But if there's anything that you can think of regarding what we've just shown you, please drop it in the chat and I'll answer those before we move on to the last section, which is the editor tips and tricks. So let me know if you've got any questions, guys. I've got a question here. Can I save single images after adding other elements? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Sorry, if you could just clarify that in any way there, that would be helpful. I'm not sure what you mean by that question. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, Sarah. That is no problem. You're quite welcome. Yeah, Catherine, we have got a replay that will be going live probably the beginning of next week, Monday or Tuesday, I'd say. And they all go in our knowledge base. So I'll show you where you can see those, help.convertri.com, and then getting started webinars. This is where it will appear. You can see all of the previous ones here. And we've got a question from Eugene about importing pages. We can talk about that now if you like, Eugene. If you want to ask that question, that's not a problem. We can address that now before we move on. And in the meantime, Nora's asked, how do we integrate with AWeber? So yeah, you'll have seen that on the list of our autoresponders. If you go into your account section and then to integrations, this is where you integrate everything with Convertri. So you can see AWeber's here. Here are payment processors. Everything that you integrate is on this menu. And to set that up, you just hit this button and add the and connect your account. So we have a video for that going up in our help document, I believe. I haven't got it integrated at the moment because I don't really use AWeber, but that's where you do it. Okay, Eugene, yeah, so he's asking when he ports pages, sometimes there's a couple of errors with the text. They appear wonky on mobile. Now, with our page import feature, it isn't perfect, so it doesn't always import the exact copy of the page. So a little caveat with it is that sometimes you may have to play around with the page slightly, so reorder stuff. That is just the way it works because you can't get a carbon copy of it. Of every page. So it depends what page you've imported. If you want us to take a look at the specific page, Eugene, feel free to give us an email at support@convertri.com. I'll put that in the chat. That's where all our support tickets go. And we'll be able to take a look in more detail for you. Obviously, we can't do that on this show, but no problem. Yeah, we'll get that looked into. And Sarah's asking about our webinar feature and why I'm not using it today. Now we use GoToWebinar because this is actually a live webinar software, whereas Convertri's webinar is an auto webinar, which basically means that it appears live so that your prospects think that they're watching it live to create a sense of urgency, but it is actually in fact pre-recorded. So that's why we don't use our own webinar system, because it wouldn't work in that same way. If you want to have a look in more detail at the auto webinar feature, here's our walkthrough on how it works, how it's used. I'll drop that in the chat. But yeah, that's why we use GoToWebinar. Okay, so we're going to move on now to the editor section. Don't worry if you do think of any more questions. We'll get to those at the end. But we're going to get started now with this editor tips and tricks section. So we've got here our page already. Now this is a Convertri template, but it is one of our older templates, and we've deliberately made it so that it doesn't mobilize well, so that I can show you how to make it mobilize well, basically. Now we'll come to that right at the end. To start off with though, we're going to show you how to remove a full section of the page. So let's take this menu section here. And actually, before I do get started on that, I should say what I'd recommend all of you guys doing is turning on the element outlines in the display menu. That's going to put these hot pink lines all around the element, and it basically shows you where they start and finish. So the reason why I really like them is because if I want to select this text here, without them on, I don't actually know where I need to click. But with them on, I know that I click within these lines and it will select it for me. Obviously, that's really useful if you want to select that certain text elements and you're not sure, where the element starts and ends. So let's say we want to delete this section though. This menu section, we don't like the look of it. We think it's, clogging up the page. We want it to go. We don't want to sit here and delete every single element though. So what we can do, select the backing panel here, and then we can just simply hit delete on our keyboard, and that will delete everything within the panel. So the whole section now is gone. We haven't had to, mess around selecting single elements. We've just done it all in one go. Now what that's done has left us with a big chunk of white space on the page, but that is a great time now to show you our removing white space feature. So if we want to get rid of this white space after we've removed a section, we can simply click on the element below it, and then up here we can see this is remove white space above. So we click that, and that has snapped that panel now that we selected up to the nearest element, eliminating all of the white space that was on the page. That's obviously a really useful feature if you've deleted a massive section. The menu one wasn't too bad. We could have dragged it up. But doing that, it's brought the whole page up with it, so we haven't had to mess around with individual elements again. So really, we're just saving time here with these features. Now, we've obviously removed the white space, but let's say we had a change of mind and we actually want to add something back onto the page where that menu section was. Now, you don't want to sit here all day moving all these elements down. You can see we've got quite a lot of images here. We don't want to move all these individually. So instead, we can select the panel again and then hold Shift and just drag it down. You can see it's creating the space we want, but also it's pushing the rest of the page down with it. So we don't have to move these individually. It's all come down as well. And we've now got this space here. Now that was Shift Drag. And the next one that we're going to show you, which is another keyboard shortcut, is Alt Drag. Now you'll notice I used the clone feature earlier on in the webinar, which is up here. But let's say you're cloning something at the bottom of the page and you don't want to move your mouse all the way to the top. Simply select the element, hold down Alt on the keyboard, and then drag it like so. And that's going to give you an exact copy of the element without having to move your mouse up to the top. So it's just a nice, simple keyboard shortcut there, which again is just going to save you a lot of time. So we showed you a few of our alignment tools earlier. We can actually show you a couple more now, and we'll use this image section here, seeing as we've got a few elements out of order, out of place. So we'll add our backing panel. This is to make sure that they're all contained. So we'll send that to the back, bring it forward, and now they're all within this panel. And that means we can edit the alignment options. So again, using this drop down, we've got a load of different options here. We're going to use middle align, and that basically aligns it to the vertical middle of the page. So center align was the horizontal middle. Middle align is the vertical one. So we'll hit that. They're all now bang in the middle of the panel. Go back to our alignments and we can justify them horizontally to put even amount of space in between them. So just like with our form on the opt-in page, they've now got a good amount of space in between. So now I'm going to talk to you guys about the mobile editor and how you can set up this page so that it mobilizes well. And this is probably the most important part of the webinar, in my opinion. Mobile pages, mobile traffic, everyone knows that it's really important nowadays when you're trying to sell anything online. So it's always really important to have a good mobile page that your users aren't going to get turned off by. They're not going to go to it and find it hard to use or think it looks, naff. So that's why having this mobile page set up well is really important. So if we take a look at the mobile creation that this page has got, let's go back to the top. You'll notice that unlike on the desktop page, if we remobilize this, unlike on the desktop page, these three here are grouped together. So this is our automatically created version, but it doesn't actually look the same as our desktop version. And obviously you don't want users to come to the mobile page and, click see bread and then have to read about it after they've seen these two. So what you need to do to make sure that doesn't happen, to have them lined up like so, is you need to use panels. And this is because Convertri understands containment. So the mobile algorithm will understand that these need to be displayed together. Now, currently, the algorithm is reading the logo first. So it goes from left to right, top to bottom on the page. So it's reading the logo, then this text, and then the image. And then it's reading bread, pastry, and coffee. So it's putting those on the page first before the text relating to those titles. Now, if we use panels, we can actually have this so that they're displayed together, which is what we want. So we'll add a panel here, send it to the back, and then bring it forward. And we'll do the same for the other two to show you the full effect of it. Okay, like so, they're all now contained. And if we go to our mobile view, you'll now see that they're all displayed within the panel. Now, obviously, you could change the background color so that it was transparent. And what that would do is it would give you this automatic version that was pretty much how you wanted it. And we've done that just by using panels. Now, as I said, this is probably the most important thing that I've shown you, purely because if you made a page with loads of these sections, with loads of different texts that had title then heading and didn't use containment, if you came to your mobile page, you'd be spending hours just rearranging it all by hand. You wouldn't have this automatic version that Convertri's built for you. But if you know that you need to use panels to contain the information that you want displayed together, then you're going to save yourself a lot of time. And as well as that, you're going to have a great mobile page to go with it. So that is basically how to get the best out of the Convertri's mobile algorithm. Use our panels to contain elements, and it will display as you want it on the mobile version. So that is going to conclude the editor section, and we're going to come now to our question and answer section. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes again to ask any questions you want, and then we'll try and get all those answered for you. Okay, so I can see here Catherine's asking us about blogs and WordPress. So she's asking if it's best to keep the blog in WordPress using our Convertri plugin and then just using Convertri for all other pages. Now, yeah, we don't recommend running blogs on Convertri because it isn't really best suited for that. So I would recommend that you keep just your other pages on Convertri and use our plugin as you described there. And that's probably going to give you, the best effect, the best outcome. I wouldn't recommend importing the blog into Convertri, no, just because, like I said, it isn't really built for that. We have got a little guide here on WordPress and, using it with Convertri. I'll drop that in the chat for you. And Eugene's asked if we can edit font text on mobile. Yeah, you can. So we'll show you it on, we'll go back to our opt-in page actually. So we'll go to our opt-in page and then mobile. Now, like I said before, you can make changes on mobile that won't affect the desktop page. So if I want to change these, the size of it, what I can actually do is in my page settings, I can change the default text scaling size here, and that will make it smaller. Now I can't actually make any edits to the way it looks because that is set across the whole page. But if you want to change the size of it on mobile, then you can do that. I think I've read your question wrong. I've just noticed you've got the word font in there. Sorry, Eugene. You can't actually change the font specifically for mobile, but you can change the size of it. Yeah, Catherine, if you've got other pages that don't need updating constantly with like a blog post, they should be fine to go on Converter as well. Landing pages primarily, but yeah, if you've got like just a contact page or something like that, that is fine as well. It's more just the pages that always need updating and storing the other posts on that Convertri doesn't support. No problem at all. And we've got a question here about, I think it's about an image slider. If I'm correct, can I make a slider? The asker is AB. Is that what you mean, an image slider? Yeah, okay, yeah. So we do have a carousel feature. So it's under more elements. And this basically allows you to have multiple images. So I'll show you how this works. Again, we're using the image modal. So let's just say we wanted an image of the dog. And then we'll just use ones that are in my folder directly, because it's obviously a lot easier to show. So you can add, you can add another, the default is 5, but you can add as many as you like. And then on the live page, this will actually scroll through like so. Now it won't do it automatically, you will have to click on it. But yeah, this is our carousel feature. You can see that it's got, you can change the visible images. You can actually select an auto rotate feature. And you can even set the speed of that as well. So yeah, here, this is our image slider. If that is what you meant, carousel is what we call it, but we do have that feature available. Any other questions, guys? And someone is asking if we can make the background, faded or transparent, I believe. Yeah, so similar to the panel here, we just go in element properties. We would actually probably be best doing it off by putting a panel over the top of it, and making that effect so that you can type over it. So a panel here, if we make that full width, and we'll just do it like this for the sake of the demonstration, and then we have like so, you're going to have that effect over the top so that you can make it look a little bit transparent. Any other questions, guys? Okay, not to worry. If you do think of anything, feel free to drop us an email. It's in the chat there, support@convertri.com. We are also have a Facebook group, so Facebook Convertri Clubhouse. If you search that, then you'll be able to join there. We've got loads of users in there, as well as myself, other members of staff, always on hand to help you out. And the community is there to help you as well, guys. So thank you all for coming along today. I hope you found it useful. Best of luck using Convertri. It's great to see so many of you here as always, and I'm glad that I can see people thanking me in the comments. That is no problem. You're quite welcome, and hopefully I'll see you all around sometime soon. Thanks, guys.